Chapter 81 The Girl from Original Timeline Part. 4 You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Upon Azzy's probing into the details, Barbara sighed. It didn't take long for me to realize that I ended up in 1993. I didn't lose hope. I believed that once I get to the clan village and prove my identity, my grandfather, or maybe the clan head will help me to return to my timeline. I sold some of the skill cards in exchange for their currency to use for transport purposes to get out of the kingdom as fast as I can. However, before I did that, Prince Van sent a few knights and took me to the royal family's guardian who offered me to be his disciple. At first, I rejected his offer, but then, after hearing that he's a peak. Rank .9, someone who was in the same league as the clan head, my ambitions to grow stronger took over my desire to return. As a result, I postponed my trip. Like that, I ended up going to Moon Academy. I thought I can return home when I graduate, but imagine my surprise when I saw you at Moon Island. A big smile suddenly appeared on her face. Nico once told me that you might have also ended up here, but I didn't believe it. When I saw you 4 months ago, I realized that I'm not the only one. I immediately asked my master to do me a favor. When I found out, I want to come here immediately, but then, I heard from my third senior brother about how your academy was chosen to host the league. So, I worked hard during these past few months to break through to rank .5 and then, participated in the annual tournament to acquire the rights to participate in the league. It's really fate, isn't it? Azzy didn't comment on her explanation and proceed to ask as if he was recording her statement, does your master know that you time traveled? Barbara shook her head, of course not. I'm not that stupid. If people know that I come from the future, I might even be abducted by the people to get the details of the history. How much others know about me? Azzy threw out another question. Not much. Just name, rank, academy name, etc. When I asked my master to search for your whereabouts, Prince Van found out about it and asked me. I lied to him that we are close friends that grew up together. Her explanation made him frown inside. Grew up together. Barbara suddenly felt tensed as she heard his tone changed. What about your surname? This unexpected question threw off Barbara for a second. She answered, I registered as a person from the Crescent family, but I didn't disclose about the clan village. As Crescent family is registered as one of the noble families of Fryless, I thought it isn't a big deal. Upon getting all the answers he wants, Azzy grabbed his chin and fell into deep thoughts. Kronos, what do you think? He asked the Reaper. Azzy obviously didn't trust her fully. So, he asked for a second opinion. The Reaper replied, either she's telling the truth or a rank .10 is manipulating her to deceive you. The latter is unlikely to happen, oh boy. She messed up. Azzy sighed as he realized the issue. Meanwhile, Barbara looked at him in worry. She wondered whether she did a wrong thing in exposing her surname. Azzy then opened his mouth, do you know that people here knew that I was an orphan and was later adopted into this house? Yes. She nodded. Barbara felt something wrong from his words, but she didn't understand what he was implying. Azzy then looked straight into her eyes, making her nervous. He then said, Fryless is a country that's located in the far western side of the continent. It's at least 10,000 kilometers away from here. Ever thought how you plan on explaining about how we grew up together? Oh. It's just that. She sighed in relief, I thought it is something serious. Her response confused Azzy. He wondered whether he didn't ask the right question. The question was already brought to me, a couple of months ago. Barbara explained, thanks to Nico's suggestion, I cooked up a story about how I stayed at Southern Kudur until the age of 8 and then shifted to the clan with my parents. This girl's smart. The Reaper commented in Azzy's head. Azzy then thought of possible difficulties. When he found most of them are already resolved, he decided it was his turn to reveal the truth. Barbara, the mysterious energy that led your arcana spirit to evolve is called the Protos energy. Proto's energy. She became curious about it. After all, even her master didn't know what it is. As he nodded, you can say it is a unique energy that was exclusive to aliens of some distant galaxy. I don't know much about it. During my second awakening, I inherited the arcana spirit of Elias Crescent. You must have heard of his name. Elias Crescent. The lightning god. Barbara was shocked to hear the name. This ancestor of theirs was widely popular in their clan as the strongest crescent ever. As a princess of the clan, she knew about the life story of Elias even better than Azzy. Anyway, something happened during the awakening and I accidentally time-traveled to the past because my arcana spirit was corrupted by the energy. As he can't reveal the existence of the Reaper, Azzy summoned the hourglass instead. According to my arcana spirit, when I reach rank 0.7, I can go back to the future. I can take you along with me too. We can go back to our timeline. As soon as she heard the words, Barbara stood up on her feet, feeling excited. She didn't even care about the appearance of the hourglass or amazed by the fact that the hourglass can make the possibility of time travel. At present, all her thoughts were on getting back home. She grabbed his arms and asked, "Say it once again, please. We can get back to our timeline. However, you need to wait several years. I'm only a rank 5, now." Barbara's face suddenly dimmed as she was reminded that it will take a while. "How long do you think you'll take?" she asked him. As she was hit with the reality, she was worried that by the time he'll reach rank 0.7, the year 2020 will become present already. "Not sure, but I need to reach it in 14 years. If we don't get back to the future before our future selves are born, we will lose our identity forever. There'll be no use to travel to the future as no one will remember us." Lose our identity. No one will remember us. What does that mean? Barbara's heart skipped as she heard it. As he explained the theory he heard from the Reaper. "Look, this is your body and soul. 13 years later, when your mother conceives you, the baby will form a body and in turn, a soul should occupy it. If your soul isn't present, then, some other soul will occupy the body. While the universe will still preserve your body since it is a materialistic property, on other hand, the memories of your parents will be linked with the baby with another soul. Barbara will cease to exist in their memories. So, time travel, in that case, will be useless. In that case, you simply continue to live in your current identity. That way, the relationships you have formed by the current you will stay even though your birth relations will be severed. And in case if I achieve it within the next 13 years, we will get to our timeline for sure. However, we will sever all the connections we formed in present. They won't remember either. And also, since we revert to 12-year-olds, our soul power will also revert to normal, although our memories will stay intact." Upon hearing the explanation, Barbara fell silent and slowly opened her mouth for a while. "So, I can choose either the future or the present, huh?" She appeared serious. As he nodded, "Yes, I chose the future. That's why I will try hard not to form any bonds. Even if I form them, I'm prepared to leave. If you want to return with me, you also have to prepare to lose every connection you have, which includes your friends and even your master. Who knows, your arcana spirit might also have to return to normal and you might lose your potential that you gained now. I don't know what sort of complications you and I will face. After all, I never time traveled before. I can only say it for sure when I reach rank 0.7 and receive the knowledge of soul skill. So, the future is still full of mystery. If you still choose it, then, I'll make sure to get you back to the timeline safe and sound. In the meantime, I will stay in constant touch with you wherever I go. I will even try to enroll in the Moon Academy if that's your wish. After all, you landed in this situation because of me, although it's by a mistake. But, if you want to stay here, I will respect your decision as well. In that case, this will be the last meeting between us. Don't take the decision rashly. Take your time and answer me before you return to the Moon Academy. Meanwhile, the Reaper, who was listening to the conversation, inwardly sighed, Azrael, I hope you won't hate me when you realize the truth. Everything is for your sake. Chapter 82 The Girl from Original Timeline Part. 5 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally, we are done with it. Barbara collapsed on the sofa in work clothes after finishing the cleaning. Aren't you hungry? Go upstairs and fresh up. I'll take you to a popular restaurant nearby. As he said while putting away the mop and the bucket. Although he said it with a straight face, inwardly he smiled. For the past 8 months, he would come to the house every month to make sure it's clean even in the absence of the family. This is the first time he had cleaned along with a person. It didn't feel boring and rather fun. He was actually pleased that he found another person that he can call family after his adopted family left him because of their personal issues. Another reason he was happy is because of Barbara's answer. She doesn't even hesitate to choose her family over strength. He didn't know whether she will change her mind in the future, but for now, he decided to trust her. A while later, both of them exited the mansion and left for the downtown, where there are a number of restaurants and a few tourist attractions. By the time they returned to the academy, it was already evening. He walked with her until they reached the female dormitory of the elite division. There, he saw a group of girls who were standing together outside of the dormitory, talking something. Oh! Mississippi Crescent. A girl called out to her as soon as she spotted her. Azrael. She was taken aback in surprise to see Azzy standing next to her. As soon as his name was called out, a few girls turned their heads. Most of them were from Acleon Academy. Coincidentally, Claire and Epi were also there. While Epi was just displeased upon the sight of him, Claire stared at Barbara with a frown on her face before she greeted him with a smile. Hey, Azrael. She didn't bother to greet Barbara. Meanwhile, Azzy greeted back the senior with a plain nod while greeting Claire with hello. Zona didn't feel offended by this, as she knew he was always like this. She then asked, do you two know each other? Azzy answered with another nod. On the other hand, Barbara widely smiled, we knew each from childhood. Kinda grew up together. Oh. I never knew that you have a childhood friend, Azrael. Did you go on a date? She asked Azzy, trying to tease him. To her disappointment, Azzy ignored her and looked at Claire. I apologize for not attending the practice session. I'm going to train at Training Grounds 1 before breakfast. You can join if you want. It's fine. She waved her hands, maintaining a forceful smile on her face. She was even more troubled after seeing that neither of them rejected that they went on a date. All right. Azzy nodded to her and then looked at Barbara. I'll take my leave then. As Azzy turned around and about to walk away, Barbara suddenly stopped him and asked whether she can join him for training. Earlier, during their outing, he mentioned how he had access to train with the robots which aren't permitted to enter the Arcana world where Moon Academy was built. So, she became curious about it, all of a sudden. Zona responded, Mississippi Crescent, Training Grounds 1 is inaccessible to outsiders. I'm afraid you can't step inside without. Before her words finished, Azzy interrupted, sure. I'll take care of it. You can do that. Zona was surprised by Azzy's confidence. On the other hand, Claire's face darkened while misunderstanding that Barbara's going to train with him alone. Until now, aside from Gideon, only she sparred with Azzy, who will only do nothing but defend or dodge. But now, she felt like this new girl is stealing her place. As for why she was bothered by it, Claire still hasn't found the reason. Saying goodbye to her, Azzy left for the dormitory. There, he didn't find Gideon in the room. Azzy thought that this guy was with those foreign students from Maple Academy who were staying in the same dorm. Shrugging his shoulders, he left for the cafeteria after having a shower. Since he was a bit late for the dinner, not many people were left there. He quietly ate his dinner without any disturbing him and then, walked towards the training grounds. Even though he wasn't participating in the tournament, Azzy never stopped working on his control. Meanwhile, at training grounds point 2, dozens of boys stood on the sidelines, watching the battle between Kyle Furlett from Maple Academy, Rufus Spindle of Moon Academy, and Leonard Light. Kyle and Rufus currently teamed up together as they battled Leo. After the incident with Azzy, as the representative of the academy, Leo went to them and apologized personally for his junior's mistake. He then said that he's willing to compensate in exchange to forgive Azzy. To his surprise, both of them asked to spar with him. At first, when they found out that Leo accepted both of the challenges, they argued with each other on who will spar with him first. However, Leo interrupted them, by telling both of them to come at him together while he will continue to restrict his strength to peak. Rank point 4. Only then they realized that this guy was even worse than Azzy. Leo directly wanted to humiliate them by showing their place. And that's how both of them ended up as a team while fighting against Leo. No one thought it was unfair either, as 1, he was the one that challenged them, 2, Leo is the current reigning champion of their nation. Even though both of them brought out their arcana spirits, Leo, on the other hand, was simply fighting bare hands. And still, everyone saw Leo has the upper hand. Unlike with the rank point 6 robot, Leo displayed his might against these two fellow participants without even releasing a single soul skill. After a while later, as both of their soul power is exhausted, both of them gave up and accepted defeat while Leo stood as the winner in the end. He wasn't even exhausted in the least. Everyone was upset that they don't even get to see any of his skills, much less the trump card. Well, it was natural the outcome ended up this way, as both of them are only peak. Rank point 4 while he is someone with peak. Rank point 6 strength despite being a peak. Rank point 4 beast. His overall strength increased from the high. Peak stage after he swallowed the original Leo and took his appearance. So, he was unafraid of battling anyone below rank point 7 as long as they aren't a robot or a person with perfect control. So, this is Northern Kudur's national champion who everyone is eyeing on, huh? Van mumbled to himself while watching the battle. The league's going to be interesting. The next day morning, Azzy was waiting at the entrance of the training grounds at 5 in the morning. He saw a girl coming towards his way. He thought it was Barbara. However, to his surprise, as she came near, he found out that it was Claire. "Morning, Azrael." Claire greeted him with a smile. "Didn't you say you won't come?" Azzy asked her. He wondered why she changed her decision. As for what he knows of her, Azzy knew that she's a stubborn type who always sticks with something once it was decided. "Nothing, I just remembered that teacher Exia's warning to not train and take rest a day before the tournament. Thought I will finish my last practice, now." Azzy nodded in understanding. He felt that she was right. Okay. Half an hour later, Barbara arrived there and was surprised to see this girl beside him. "Miss Lefevre." Claire simply nodded as a greeting. Azzy took out his pass and scanned it to open the gate. While they were walking together, Barbara skipped in excitement. The previous night, she asked the others about the robots. One of the girls from the elite division told her about how a robot with perfect control easily defeated the national champion. As she's also rank point 5, she wondered whether she can tackle it. "We are here." After walking for a while, they entered the building and continued to walk until they reached a metal door with a giant X carved on it. Azzy scanned the access card and opened the door, revealing a white room. They stepped inside of it. While Barbara looked around curiously, Claire, who was familiar with it, went towards a corner and said, "As usual, I'm setting it to 2 times the gravity." Gravity. Barbara was confused to hear it. She wondered where the promised robots are. Suddenly, she felt heavy. It appeared very familiar to her. "Azrael, is this like the Violet Pavilion steps at our clan?" she asked him in excitement. Ednel.co. Azzy stiffened all of a sudden. "Our clan? Aren't you an orphan, Azrael?" she asked, feeling confused. Chapter 83 Holy Ground. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing that this new girl suddenly indicating that both of them belongs to the same clan, Claire was surprised and immediately pointed it out. Azrael, aren't you an orphan with a common background? Barbara, who realized the mistake, closed her mouth with the hands instantly. Oops. Azzy, who was stiffened by Barbara's loose tongue, now became angry after seeing her reaction. He quickly thought of an excuse on the spot. No, she was just referring to her clan in a formal way. Claire just stared at him in silence as if she was thinking he was kidding. Thankfully, the blank expression on him helped at the moment and made her believe his words. Since Barbara is a member of the nobility, Claire also thought it might be possible. The only suspicious thing is the girl's reaction. It appeared as if she blurted out a secret. Meanwhile, Azzy wondered whether this cousin of his really managed to keep the fact that she's time-traveled. Even though Reaper told him that she's telling the truth, he became skeptical about it after witnessing this incident. Anyway, let's start the training. We don't have much time. Azzy reminded Claire to divert the situation. He then looked at Barbara and set her to stand in the side for now. Claire nodded and continued to walk before stopping 5 meters away. She then summoned her soul card and then took out a heavy sword that brimming with a holy aura. As she raised the sword above her head, the aura erupting from the sword surrounded her. Meanwhile, her eyes turned golden. Are you ready? Azzy nodded calmly. At first, he used to get extremely uncomfortable as her strong light attribute is an enemy to his death/dark attribute. So, he hesitated to help her out. But, under the suggestion of the Reaper, he trained with her for the past 6 months to shake off that uncomfortable feeling. Right now, after getting used to it, he was no longer bothered by it. At the same time, the divine sword spirit also became good at controlling its hatred after getting used to it. Of course, it goes without saying that it still views the presence inside Azzy as its enemy. Of course, there's one more person who was feeling extremely uncomfortable at the moment. Barbara, who was infected with Proto's energy, also felt the hate from her saber-toothed tiger towards the girl, or rather the sword. Remembering how her Nico used to dislike light attribute people, she thought it was because of the same reason. Start. Claire quickly dashed towards him as soon as she heard him. Even under the double gravity, her moments weren't restricted even a bit. Azzy stood there calmly. He waited until his opponent reached him and slashed at him. Just as the tip of the aura about to touch him, Azzy made his move. He sidestepped to the left and dodged the attack. But, it wasn't stopped there. Azzy immediately counterattacked at the same time. At the instant, the sword missed the target, he instantly grabbed her left arm that wasn't holding the sword and then threw her in the opposite direction. Claire was flung away for a couple of meters before she managed to control her body and landed her feet on the floor. She didn't stop and dashed towards him once again. This time, as she swung the sword at him, her eyes darted left and right to check where he was going to dodge. However, to her surprise, Azzy ducked and grabbed her shirt near the waist and flung her down at the floor before he dashed backward to gain distance. As he barely used any strength on her, Claire wasn't injured in the slightest. Again. He spoke as she stood on her feet. The sparring was continued, by Claire getting defeated in every move. Azzy was simply using different kinds of techniques on her for every attack, making his pattern appear quite random. This unconventional style of fighting. Barbara fell into a daze as she watched the battle from the sidelines. It kinda resembled Auntie Evelyn's mixed fighting style. After a while, Azzy once again counterattacked, this time by kicking her left foot in a way that made her split her legs suddenly, thereby losing her balance. Azzy walked back a few meters in a distance, waiting for her to stand up. Azrael, you are going too easy on me. Claire pointed the sword at him and complained, even if you don't use the lightning wolf, at least use your soul power. Azzy put his hands behind the back and replied, I already told you many times. I'm not your sparring partner and only help you train your battle skill. So, what you should worry about isn't whether I'm going all out or not. First, your goal is to land a hit on me. Then, talk about making me use my soul power, later. Claire wasn't offended by his remark as she was used to his personality. Instead, she takes it as a challenge and smiled, then, I'll force you to use it. Good luck. As he gestured to her to continue. This time, her facial expression turned serious as she unleashed the soul skill for the first time in 3 months. Soul skill. Descent of the Heavenly Guardian. Suddenly, an enormous amount of natural energy absorbed into her body, filling her soul power to fill, and at the same time, energy wings made of light particles appeared behind her back. Strangely, the sword in her hands disappeared while a halo appeared above her head. She appeared so pure that it almost enraged Vitra. As for the Reaper, he just laughed it off. He didn't think much about it. Barbara went into a daze. She felt as if she was seeing an angel that descended from the heavens to the earth. However, the roaring of her Nico inside the mindscape brought her to reality. What's happening with Nico? It was no longer enraged but rather terrified. A platinum-grade beast is afraid of this gold-grade sword with a light attribute. Closing her eyes, Barbara went to her mindscape and then, concentrated on calming down her buddy. Back to the battle, Azzy, who already seen the skill once, wasn't surprised and even praised, good. It appeared to be more controlled. Now, the outcome of the battle depends on what combination you will use with it. Well, I wanted to save this until the annual tournament finals to surprise everyone and get into the Champions League, but I guess, I have to get acknowledgement from you, first. She replied with a smile as she took out a 4-star skill card. Holy Ground, activate. She poured her soul power into the card, before throwing it onto the floor, activating the skill card. The card shone brightly for a couple of seconds before turning the porcelain tiles on the floor into golden color. Oh! What is this card? As he looked at the golden floor, curiously as he felt a slight suppression on him. After all, he was someone who would be perfectly fine even if gravity was increased by 20 times. He has never seen such a skill card before. Claire fell silent. If they were just by themselves, she wouldn't have bothered to keep it a secret. However, Barbara's presence made her hesitate. After all, she's a person from another academy. She immediately turned her head and looked at her. Barbara, who was busy with calming her arcana spirit, just looked blankly at her in return. Meanwhile, as he understood what she was thinking, said, "Don't worry." Presently, she wasn't concentrating on the battle right now. Either way, I will make sure she won't spill it to her teammates. You can trust me on that. Claire nodded and then, explained, I turned this area into holy ground. This 4-star card will increase the healing ability of light attributed arcana masters by at least 1.5. At the same time, my attacks will be also strengthened by a fold. And you know that I can continuously recover my soul power endlessly for 10 minutes after I use this soul skill. It's not enough, Claire. There are going to be several geniuses in the tournament with higher soul ranks. You are still stuck at peak. Rank point 4. Add another skill card to this combo. It should be one that increases your power or speed. As he gave a bit of quick advice. How about this? She took out a mysterious skill card upon much deliberation. Chapter 84 Barbara spars with the robot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon Azzy's advice, Claire thought for a while. As a light element user, the skill cards she can create are mostly healing cards with different effects. The only other card she was capable to create is the Holy Ground skill, which is her trump card. It's a unique skill card of her own that she managed to finish a month ago after working hard for several years. So, when she heard that the card won't be enough to dominate the arena, she felt disappointed a bit and thought about other cards that were single-use. Of them, there's one special card that she remembered buying in one of the stores at Arcana World during the trips. However, as it is very rare, she hesitated. Upon much deliberation, she finally took out a 4-star card and showed it to Azzy to get a second opinion. How about this? Azzy saw the images of 5 golden swords on the card. It was also something that was new to him. What does it do? Claire explained, this is an attack card. It will not increase my power or anything, but upon activating the skill, 5 energy swords will appear around me, which I can control each of them at a time or all at a time, to attack the enemy. I don't have a skill card that boosts my attack power or speed, but this can be a follow-up attack. And according to the storekeeper, the swords won't disappear for an hour unless my soul power gets emptied. I paid 1 million credits to acquire this card. Azzy was stunned for a second upon hearing her explanation, and also felt it's expensive for a single skill card of rank 0.4. With such an amount of money, he would rather buy a gold-grade item card that can be used forever. Well, I think it's better to save it for a very important match. How about you focus on breaking through to the next rank? Claire shook her head and sighed, I know, but it's hard to cross this limit. No matter how much I battle, I just can't receive the revelation needed to break through. Even though she has a sword, she is still a pure light attribute user. It is obvious that fighting will only make it harder for her to proceed further into higher ranks. That's why light attribute users always stay as support. The Reaper came to the rescue once again. He continued, healing is the way. She needs to be in a situation where she's desperate to save someone's life. Only then, her arcana spirit will break the wall. Azzy fell into deep thoughts after realizing the issue. After forming a risky plan, he spoke, Claire, I wanted to try something that might help you. What is it? She asked. Azzy then walked towards Barbara and placed his hand on her forehead. Dark energy slowly released from his palm, Kronos, I'm leaving it to you. Within a few seconds, Barbara opened her eyes suddenly and saw her cousin before her. I guess your beast is stabilized. Before she misunderstood his actions, Azzy quickly said a few words that implied it was his work. How? Her eyes widened. For a while, she tried to calm down the saber-toothed tiger, but it continued to run here and there under the effect of Proto's energy, which was provoked due to the holy ground. Did you forget where it is originated from? Azzy responded with a question. While Claire didn't understand what he was talking about, Barbara, on the other hand, thanked him. Anyway, follow me to the 3rd floor. Azzy walked to the corner of the room to reset the gravity before leaving the room. Both of them continued to follow Azzy while Claire dismissed the soul skill. As for the holy ground, she can't do anything about it. It has to disappear on its own after reaching the time limit. Just as they reached the 3rd floor, Claire asked, is it really okay for us to be here? I mean, this floor is pretty much restricted to us. Well, not for me. Azzy shrugged his shoulders and continued to walk. Oh. That's right. I forgot that Principal Barton is your master. Claire let out a comment while following him. Principal. Barbara looked at Azzy. Don't you already have a master? She once again closed her mouth, thinking that she might have said something she shouldn't have. However, Azzy didn't react to it much and replied, according to Master Barton, the 1.Master 1.Life principle is of ancient age. It seems the rules have changed in the modern era. He said I can take many masters, but they can only choose one as the prime master who will have the highest authority on their student. Oh. Both of the girls exclaimed at the same time. As a person from a distant kingdom that still follows the old ways, Claire also knew nothing about modern methods, even though it's been more than 3 years since she started studying here. Soon, they reached a metallic door that seemed identical to that of the one on the ground floor. However, unlike the gravity room, there was also a biometric lock. So, even if one has the access card, without their fingerprints registered in the system, the door won't open. Thankfully, the principal has long registered it. So, they didn't face a problem opening the door. Wow! Once again, both of the girls exclaimed together as they saw the robots that were standing on either side. Our academy has this many robots. I thought it was only one, said Claire while looking at them curiously. There are 3 types of robots. The one on the left, these 5 have peak. Rank .5 strength. As for the right, except for the last one, they are of peak. Rank .6 while the final one is of rank .7. I don't have access to the last one, yet. Barbara, I'll let you train with the rank .5 robot. Meanwhile, Claire and I will face the rank .6 robot. And I trust that this matter of sparring with robots will not leave this room. Both of them nodded seriously. First, let's Barbara spar with the opponent. Azzy then walked towards a rank .5 bot and clicked on a button on the back of its neck, which opened a small compartment with a remote controller inside. He then clicked on sparring mode while backing away along with Claire so that the robot scanned Barbara and adjust its strength. If they were together, Azzy was sure that it will fight to the best of its ability. Barbara didn't take long to get into battle stance and summon the saber-toothed tiger. Roar the beast roared at the robot before dashing towards it. Barbara didn't stay still either. Even though she's a summoner, she still joined the beast as a backup. Both of them simultaneously attacked the robot while it focused on defense. But soon, the situation turned around. After getting familiar with their attack patterns, the robot changed the flow completely in its favor. Nico, use soul skill. Fireblast, getting into the disadvantage of the battle, Barbara lost the patience and unleashed the soul skill of the beast. Upon receiving the order, the saber-tooth opened its mouth and conjured a black fireball before shooting it towards the robot like a beam. However, the robot simply raised his hand and activated another defensive mechanism. The blue shield appeared around its arms that blocked the attack. Even though the shield blocked the attack, due to the presence of Proto's energy within the fireblast, cracks started to appear on the shield before it exploded. The situation was different from Azzy. While Azzy's Proto's infected death energy simply corrodes the energy that it touches, the Proto's infected fire energy simply increased its damage by several times. As the attack power already crossed the rank .5 limit, naturally, the shield wasn't able to hold it on. Looking at it, a frown appeared on Claire. Her sword spirit was once again trying to go on a rampage because of the earlier display. However, Claire quickly managed to calm it down and continued to watch the battle in silence. Just then, the robot spoke, rank .6 strength detected. Activating Berserk mode, Beep Azzy quickly pressed the button on the remote and stopped its function. Okay, it's enough for today. Barbara was taken aback and turned her head. Why? She was curious about this Berserk mode. Claire, on the other hand, wondered whether this Berserk mode is not good. Chapter 85 Battle Robots Berserk Mode. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Let's stop, for now, Barbara. Azzy deactivated the robot and stopped the sparring as soon as the robot went into Berserk mode. Why? It's fun. Barbara puffed her cheeks and complained. Meanwhile, Claire wondered whether there's something wrong with the robot's sudden change. In the next second, he confirmed her suspicions. It isn't the moment for you to engage in a serious battle and get injured. It will be worse if your soul beast will be killed in the process. It would take a long time for a platinum-grade beast to revive and you have a tournament to participate. Injured. Killed. You will be underestimating me if you think this machine is strong enough to kill my Nico. Barbara was displeased by Azzy's remark. Azzy responded by shaking his head. No, you are the one that was underestimating the robot. Until now, the robot is under sparring mode. So, you only faced the power of low. Rank .5. However, there are other modes, you know. After spending more than half a year with these machines, Azzy found out a lot about their mechanisms. One should say that he's the most knowledgeable person regarding the robots in the academy, even more than the principal. He proceeds to explain. First is the usual defend mode, where the robot will only defend with a shield and counterattack without moving from the spot. Second is the attack mode, where the robot will interchange its weapons between saber and energy cannon. Third is the defense mode. Level point 2, which will be activated when the robot is in defense mode and its divine shield failed to block the attack. Fourth is the sparring mode, where the robot will adjust its strength according to its opponent. It will make its own judgments when to attack and when to defend. Fifth is the hostile mode. Upon activation, the robot aims to kill the opponent at all costs. It is highly dangerous. And sixth is a hidden berserk mode, which is similar to hostile mode. However, there are differences. Unlike the hostile mode, it will not kill the human, but your arcana spirit won't be spared either. The first four are practically safe, as either you or your arcana spirit will only be gravely injured, at most. However, the other two modes are dangerous, where the robot's attack and speed will be increased by a level, which means, you will face a full assault of a low rank 0.6 platinum grade beast. This is why I can't risk you fighting it further. Silence filled the room for a while. Both of the girls didn't expect such mechanisms installed in this robot. Barbara only thought it was a lump of metal. While Claire has a fair idea of what a robot is, she still didn't expect that the world has advanced so much. They wondered how those scientists even managed to create such a fearsome thing, especially the rank 0.71, which will possess the power of rank 0.8 during the hostile or sparring mode. Clap. Okay, now, let's get you to rank 0.5, Claire. As he then said Barbara to back away while he walked towards another robot with rank 0.6 strength. Am I going to battle a rank 0.6? She gulped in fear. She saw the strength of a rank 0.6 robot just a few days ago. It completely thrashed the national champion, Leo. So, how could she face it when she was only a rank 0.4 Arcana Master? As he shook his head in response, not I, but we. We are going to battle together. She was taken aback. As he nodded and continued, just remember not to use the holy ground. It will only restrict my strength. Oh. And don't use soul skills when I use them. Both of ours will try to cancel out each other instead of facing the opponent. Yeah, I know. She nodded seriously. As Barbara sat on the sidelines, Claire summoned her holy sword. Meanwhile, Azzy was alone with neither the wolf nor the weapons. You aren't summoning Vitra? Claire asked him curiously. Barbara also wondered the same. Azzy shook his head, our aim isn't defeating it. So, there's no need. After answering Claire, he then looked at Barbara and further said, no matter what, you will not intervene in the situation. Please trust me on this. Azzy's warning made Barbara wonder whether he was going to do something dangerous. Nevertheless, she agreed with a nod. Get ready, Claire. As she takes a battle stance, Azzy pressed on attack mode, instead of sparring mode. It quickly scanned the both of them and raised its hand. Its left hand turned into cannon while its right hand took out a handle. Soon, an energy saber formed. Even Azzy was surprised at its action, as he never saw the robot battled with two weapons. It was always one or the other. Thinking that it might be because there are two opponents now, Azzy gave a warning to Claire, beware of the cannon. It is in dual weapon mode. I know. Claire became serious as tightly gripped her sword before dashing towards it. The robot, which is in attack mode, also pushed its leg against the floor and dashed towards Claire. On the way, it shot an energy bullet from the cannon. Just as Claire about to block it with her sword, all of a sudden, she found Azzy appeared before her and blocked the attack with his bare body. Ugh! He groaned in pain while falling on the ground. Following his plan, he didn't use soul energy to strengthen his defense. However, he didn't expect it to be weak enough to cause only superficial pain. Azzy changed his plan. Claire abruptly hated her movements and looked at him in worry. Are you all right? Look out in the front. He shouted in response. Just as she turned her head to the front, she found the robot was already just a couple of feet before her. She hurriedly blocked it with the sword. However, due to the difference in strength, she flew away backward. Azzy immediately dashed towards her and caught her at the perfect time. Thanks. He then put her down. But, are you alright? Earlier you seemed to get hit badly. She expressed her worry. The robot which is in the attack mode didn't give them the time to converse further. As it already reached them, Azzy gave an order while he disappeared, dodge and aim for the joint. Claire then remembered Azzy's comment back when Leo sparred with the same robot. Dodging the energy saber, she thrusts the heavy sword towards its left elbow. However, right then, the robot aimed the cannon at her. Just as it about to fire an energy bullet, a solid punch was hit on its left elbow. A loud creak was heard before the arm suddenly fell on the floor, making it halt its movements for a fraction of a second. This time, Azzy used his soul energy to punch its weak spot with all of his strength. Now, getting the perfect chance to act, she made her move and aimed at the right elbow to cut off the other hand too. At the perfect moment, it managed to move its arm. As a result, the sword struck a part of its metal arm. Other than a scratch, Claire wasn't able to do any major damage like Azzy did. And the robot didn't give her the chance to do it again either. Upon taking the fallen cannon, the robot suddenly leaped high towards the back and landed on the edge of the room, 15 meters away. Injured heavily by the opponent. Activate Berserk Mode. It hasn't been even 1 minute, and the hidden Berserk Mode was activated. This time, Azzy didn't stop its function and stared at the robot as it reattached the arm with the help of magnetic force. The nuclear energy burned in its core and flew towards all of its body parts, improving its durability. Meanwhile, the energy saber turned from blue to red. The energy cannon disappeared and replaced by a red shield. Soul Skill. Sky-piercing sword. The holy aura on the heavy sword in her hands started to thicken while the weapon slowly became bigger. In no time, it enlarged to 5 meters, almost touching the ceiling. She dashed towards the robot and swung the sword. The robot simply raised the red shield and blocked it. What? Claire was shocked to see that not only her attack was cleanly blocked but her soul energy-filled aura around the sword was also absorbed into the shield. Its eyes locked onto Claire. Meanwhile, Azzy clenched his fist. Chapter 86 Azzy goes all out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It wasn't supposed to go this way. Azzy was frustrated to see his plans go awry because of Claire's tenacious fighting spirit and bad team play. Even though they never worked together, still, Azzy felt that she can't fight the robot as if she's alone. Adding on top of that, the Berserk Mode robot seems to be ignoring him even though he was the one that broke its arm earlier. Seeing that it was completely focusing on Claire, Azzy felt he should do something to gain its attention on him. Only that way, his plan would be a success. Meanwhile, Claire, who doesn't know what's going on in Azzy's mind, was in an illusion, thinking that she needs to battle a higher-grade perfectly controlled opponent to break through. With such intention, she unleashed her soul skill, but what she didn't expect is the durability of the red shield is a lot stronger than she thought at first glance. Not only the attack failed but even her soul skill, which was supposed to last for 10 more minutes, was also wasted. The thickened holy aura that was filled with her soul energy was completely absorbed by the shield, making the sword revert to its original state. I guess this is where I need to surpass my limits and break through, Claire mumbled to herself while looking at the robot that was staring at her. Right then, suddenly, she felt pressure and her spirit started to behave wildly in rage. A growl was heard from behind. She turned her head and glanced at the source of the sound only to see a black wolf appeared right beside Azzy. Black lightning sparks were generated from all over its body as it stared at the robot. You decided to summon Vitra. Claire seemed surprised. Azzy explained vaguely, we have no choice. Meanwhile, Barbara was taken aback in surprise. From what she knew, Azzy had a death scythe and legendary black lightning orb. However, what was in front of her is completely a new beast that seemed very stronger compared to her own. At first, she wondered whether she was misunderstood that he inherited the arcana spirit of Elias Crescent. But then, looking at the black sparks and remembering the name Claire called it out, she theorized that this so-called Protoss energy might make that lightning orb mutate into the beast just like how her kitty was mutated into a saber-toothed tiger. She felt it was quite possible. "Claire, follow my lead." The Black Wolf and Azzy rushed towards the robot at an unimaginable speed. In a split second, Azzy appeared before the robot and threw out a punch. The robot defended the punch with the red shield while a loud sound reverberated all over the room. A small crack appeared at the spot his punch landed, but it disappeared quickly. At the same time, Vajra also arrived and lunged at it to tear off its head. However, the robot was able to react to it and raised its shield to slam it into the wolf's face. "Wow! So fast," Claire exclaimed as she saw how quickly both of them reached the opponent and attacked. If not for her superior eyesight, she would have mistaken that they teleported to the opponent. As for Barbara, she doesn't seem that surprised. She knew that those who trained at the Violet Pavilion will be fast on the normal grounds. Soon, Claire joined the fight. Azzy, Claire, and the Black Wolf. The three of them started to attack the robot in three different directions. Strangely, even though he got an opportunity several times, Azzy never hit its weak spot. All he focused is on one thing. That is to shift its attention from Claire and the wolf to himself. So, he went all out. However, due to his imperfect control over his soul energy, his soul power started to diminish at a rapid pace whenever his soul energy powered fists landed on the shield, as it would absorb the soul energy when it blocks the attack. Usually, for an expert with perfect control, when they wanted to strengthen their physical body to the limit, only 5% of their overall soul energy is needed at most. The soul energy will not only strengthen one's bones and organs but also improve the recovery rate of the injuries. If healing skill applied, then, the soul energy that was outside the soul orb will speed up the process. Of course, a person can pour all the soul energy to strengthen his physical body too. It will make his body steadier for sure, but not the attack power. Coming to Azzy's situation, he kept half of the soul energy inside his soul orb for Vajra to use one soul skill with maximum strength or several soul skills if it suppresses its soul to rank 0.4. Meanwhile, the other half was spread all over his organs, bones, etc. Of the 50% soul energy, Azzy's hand and legs take 20% of it, leaving the remaining 30% for defense. So, whenever Azzy's fist lands on the shield, 5% of his soul energy will be absorbed as a result, which will be replenished by taking away 5% of the soul energy that was kept for defense. And right now, he was even forced to leave only 20% of the soul energy in his soul orb for Vajra, which will be enough for only 5 attacks of its peak. Rank 0.4 level, which is equivalent to a peak. Rank 0.5 attack of a platinum grade beast. With no soul energy present in his legs, he only continued to fight with fists. On the other hand, Claire was doing fairly better with the sword in her hand. This is the difference between a bare-handed fighter and a swordmaster. If Azzy had the death scythe in his hand, this troublesome situation wouldn't even arise. Alas, with Claire's presence, he wasn't able to take it out. Back to the battle, as the robot is defending against Claire and Azzy while aiming to kill the skillfully dodging wolf, the Reaper no longer sat in silence. Chapter 87 Azzy gets himself injured. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. You have dealt with it numerous times. Did you forget soul energy corruption already? The Reaper suddenly reminded him when nothing seemed to work out against this robot. And why are you forcing it to defend? Increase the time interval between your attacks. It seemed to mind Vajra's attacks the most rather than you. But, I only have 50,000 soul power worth of soul energy left for Vajra. If I use the remaining energy in the fists, I have to draw some of it once again and Vajra would be left with almost nothing. I can't use soul absorption here either. As he expressed his concern about the usage of soul energy. Well, you are partly to blame for trying to get its attention by sheer force. The Reaper indicated that Azzy should have been smart in expending his soul energy when he knew the function of the red shield very well. Anyway, use the corruption to take away that shield. As for Vajra, as soon as you dismiss it, the machine will focus on you. Moreover, you have an energy recovery skill card in your storage. You can always buy them in the stores as long as you have enough money. Got it. Azzy abandoned his original plan and followed the Reaper's advice. Claire and Vajra, both of you back off a bit. He then transferred all of the remaining 15% soul energy into his right fist and threw a solid punch towards the shield. As Claire and Vajra moved away, the robot defended the punch with its shield. Just when they were about to collide, all of a sudden, deathly soul energy left his fist and hit the shield. Ugh! Azzy groaned in pain as his plain fist landed on the sturdy shield while his death energy started to infect the divine shield. He turned around and quickly grabbed Claire to move away from the opponent while dismissing the wolf at the same time. A big black spot appeared in the middle of the shield. The robot shifted its attention towards it. Soon, the whole shield was covered in black. Even its fingers were turned to black. To prevent further corruption, it left the shield and pulled out its hand. After a while, as if something eating it, several holes formed on the shield before it disappeared. As the hand was metallic, it only turned black. What was that? Claire and Barbara fell into thoughts. They felt not only Azzy but even his skills were also mysterious. As the beast was nowhere to be seen, the robot finally changed its target to Azzy that damaged its shield, and forced it to cut off its hand. Okay, its shield is gone. Now is the time to act. Azzy put his revised plan into motion. Claire, I want you to oscillate between supporter and attacker, according to the situation. I will be the vanguard to face the robot. Look for an opening and strike it with the sword. In the meantime, heal me if I get injured. Claire nodded seriously. She didn't know what Azzy is planning but decided to see it through to the end as she still hasn't found a way to cross the wall. Not to mention, it was the first time Azzy asked her to support him, which means he wishes to depend on her. Just then, the robot started its offense. It dashed towards Azzy who then moved away from Claire. The robot also followed him. Closing the distance, it once again attempted to hit him. However, instead of dodging with side steps, Azzy made a wrestling move. He jumped and evaded the saber before locking its head with his legs before throwing it behind him. Just as the robot about to crash onto the wall, it displayed its frightening control of landing its feet on the wall. Taking the rebound force as an advantage, it leaped towards Azzy while spinning around its own body in the air. Azzy who just stood on the floor saw the spinning attack almost reached him. Not able to dodge it, he put his arms over the chest and tried to block it. Don't do it, Azrael. The aim isn't the right place. Don't retract the soul energy. The Reaper's voice echoed in his brain as he hurriedly warned him. Alas, he was already late as Azzy transferred the soul energy to his arms and took the hit on his chest directly. Azrael. Claire and Barbara shouted in panic as the energy saber was pierced in the middle of his chest while he got crashed onto the opposite wall heavily and fell on the floor. He started to heavily bleed and soon, he lost his consciousness. Azzy's soul appeared at the mindscape before the Reaper. Sensing his condition, Azzy sighed in relief, heavy injury, only one lung has been destroyed. Not life-threatening. What's happening on outside, Kronos? He asked the Reaper whether the plan is working well or not. The Reaper looked at him and commented, sometimes, your kindness for others even scares me a bit. Azzy was taken aback by his unexpected comment. The Reaper lectured, you almost sought death foolishly, and the first thing you are concerned about whether your plan is a success or not. I warned you it isn't the right time, didn't I? Anything went wrong? He asked in worry. Don't tell me Claire and Barbara got injured. You idiot. For the first time, the Reaper roared at him, making Azzy shiver in fright. Thunder rumbled in the skies of his mindscape. The Reaper then sighed, realizing he's just a 13-year-old boy and bound to make mistakes. He calmly explained, nothing happened to them. And yes, Claire broke through to rank .5 but not through healing. The girl really is gifted. Once she finds the remaining fragments of Michael's sword, she would be a force to reckon with. Michael's sword. Azzy became curious but didn't ask him, minding the Reaper's bad mood. Meanwhile, on the outside, as Claire was in a stalemate against the robot while attacking it with all her strength, Barbara, on the other hand, was struggling to remove the energy saber that was absorbing the healing power. Upon removing it, she shouted, "I took it out. Hurry up. Find the remote," Claire replied in return while slashing at its arm. A moment later, the robot finally stopped and Claire immediately dashed towards Azzy and started to heal him after applying soul skill that lets her recover her soul power instantly for a period of time. Half an hour later, Azzy opened his eyes and saw the faces of the two girls. While Barbara looked worried, he saw tear marks on Claire's face. "Thank goodness, you are fine." He was immediately hugged by Claire and got lectured, "You know that berserk mode is dangerous. Why do you have to dismiss the beast and face it alone? What would have happened if I wasn't the healer?" While she continued to nag, Azzy opened his mouth, "Congratulations on becoming a rank .5 Arcana Master." Barbara, who was silently grinning on the sidelines, was shocked as she pointed her shaking finger at him. You are smiling." Claire backed off and looked at him. Indeed, there was a smile on his face. Chapter 88 Laughing Skull of Darkness. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. During the process of healing, the Reaper forcefully shut down Azzy's soul orb as his death energy will oppose her life energy. Only the Reaper knows that her attribute isn't light but life, an opposite element of death, and is unique to a specific clan. Because of that, Azzy temporarily regained his emotions. As he was genuinely happy for Claire, unknown to him, a smile appeared on his face. Barbara, who was watching the both of them, pointed it out in shock as she captured the moment with her eyes. Claire backed off from him and takes a look at him. She closed her mouth with her hands while her eyes widened. Even she was experiencing the same amount of shock as Barbara. After all, she firmly believed that Azzy being emotionless might be a manufacturing defect. "Ha! What are you talking about?" Azzy's smile was replaced by a frown as he touched his lips. "It's normal, right? You are frowning." As Barbara once again pointed it out, Claire grabbed his arms while smiling widely, "It's a miracle, Azrael. You can express your emotions." Looking at Azzy's puzzled expression, Claire thought that Azzy wasn't acting until now, but he really might have no idea about the facial expressions. She became happier and excited. Meanwhile, Azzy now realized the issue within his body. He immediately lifted the seals and once again, his face returned to normal. "Am I still frowning?" he asked them in his usual plain tone. The two of them were taken aback and Barbara sighed, "I guess it is temporary." However, Claire had a positive mindset, "I guess it's because of some of your nerve blockages. When your organ is ruptured earlier, it might have got temporarily active. That means, there's a hope of full recovery. It is fine. I'm good this way." Azzy waved his hands in response before standing on his feet. "Now that you reached rank .5, let's continue your practice with a rank 5 robot. You have to get used to your strength too. We are continuing." Claire was once again surprised upon hearing him. She didn't expect this boy will spout out these words after what happened earlier. Azzy nodded, "Yes. This time, I will sit out but my Vajra will be your backup." Barbara. You can also join if you wish." Since he forcefully stopped her earlier spar, he wanted to give her a chance. At the same time, he also wanted to make sure they don't get overboard with recklessness by releasing soul skills and make the robot go into berserk mode, especially Barbara. With two opposite natures, Azzy hoped that they will hold themselves back. 2 hours later, ha. 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 The two girls collapsed on the floor while heavily breathing with sweat all over their bodies. On the other hand, the robot returned to its place as if nothing happened. Azzy then pressed a button on the controller that is located at the entrance. A cabin opened and machinery hands came out of it. The rank .5 robot was dragged inside to recharge and get repaired like how the other robots were stored into their respective cabins before Azzy and Claire started their battle with the rank .6 robot. After a while, the girls went to the ground floor to shower and then left for the dormitory. Training together made them a bit closer, especially on Barbara's side. As for Claire, she no longer disliked Barbara but at the same time, she doesn't like her either because of her closeness with Azzy. Meanwhile, Azzy went to the library on the same floor. After returning the book to the exact spot where he borrowed it from, he took another book, which is a history book on the Khudr kingdom. It was a book of 8th epoch when there are no existences of governments, and when northern and southern Khudr nations were of one single kingdom. After placing it in the storage card, he went to the private training room on the second floor. It was allotted to Azzy by his master on the day he became the disciple. So, apart from Azzy or without his permission, it is restricted for anyone to train in this place. Several advanced seals are applied personally by the principal during construction so that the walls were able to withstand the damage of even a full dot-on attack of a rank .7. Okay, let's complete this month's assignment, at once. Sitting on the floor, he meditated until he recovered his soul energy. Then, he took out several blank cards that are made of bronze and a few cards that are made of silver. 12, 13, 14, 19. 3, 4, 5. 8 after counting bronze and silver made blank cards, he put the rest of them into his storage before proceeding with card creation. He then picked up a bronze card and pours his soul energy through it while falling into a trance. Azzy's surroundings changed to that of a graveyard. The sky was dark and there's a full moon in the sky. Just then, dark energy emitted from the tombs and slowly, it formed the image of a purple skull that floated in the air as it stared at him. He. It started to laugh hysterically. It was a scene that he was familiar with. He imagined this place countless times, although he still was confused why the skull is laughing. It's not like he wanted to scare someone or anything. Azzy raised his hand and the skull made its way towards him before landing in his palms. Even though it was made up of energy, it felt pretty solid in Azzy's hands. The dream ended right away and he returned to consciousness. Only 5 seconds have been passed in reality and there's an image of a skull on the supposed blank card. 4 red dot-colored stars appeared on the other side of the card, indicating that it's a rank .4, intermediate skill card. Intermediate level, again. Azzy sighed inwardly. I wonder when I will create an advanced level. When you master your soul energy. The Reaper commented in his head. I know that. You don't need to remind me. He grumbled before taking out the next bronze card. Like the Holy Ground skill to Claire, this Laughing Skull of Darkness skill card is unique to Azzy. However, the key difference here is that the Holy Ground skill's effects are indeed unique while this skull's effects aren't that much great. Like a regular soul energy attack of his, this skull upon hitting the target will corrupt their soul energy. Good thing is that it won't corrupt the soul orb, at least, according to the Reaper. So, as long as one expels their soul energy, they would be able to ward off this attack, pretty much easily. Any expert with considerable battle experience will be able to do that. If such a case occurs, they have to replenish their soul energy too and it will give plenty of time for Azzy to attack. Maybe, that's the reason silver stars appeared on the skill card. Within an hour, around 12 blank cards of bronze were filled with purple skulls while he almost exhausted his soul power for the 3rd time. Just as he was about to continue, his stomach sent him a signal by rumbling that he's hungry. Thinking of finishing it later, he stopped the card creation practice and left the place. By the time he reached the classroom, it was already 10 o'clock with 2 periods over already and language class is going on. The shorty from the Maple Academy was glaring at him while the others didn't pay much attention to it as it wasn't the first time he was late. Not to mention, as he even skipped the class, a lot of times in the past. As his original spot beside Gideon was taken by Roland of the Maple Academy, as he sat in an empty seat of the front row. 2 more hours later, in the staff room, Reuben, Exia, Afiar, a couple of other teachers arrived one by one. Everyone had this clueless expression as they took their seats. Afiar asked the vice principal, why they have been summoned all of a sudden. She just shook her head, Barton didn't tell me either. Let's see what he has to say. It must be important. After a while, the principal entered the room and sat in his chair while having a serious expression on his face. Everyone, just now I received a message from Whammo. It seems the Heavenly Academy threatened them that they will not attend the league as the committee rejected their request of changing the venue. Chapter 89 The Inspector from Whammo Headquarters Part. 1 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing Principal Barton's statement, silence filled the room. No one expected such a situation when even a couple of top academies arrived and the academy is only a day from the annual tournament too. Heavenly Academy is causing trouble for us. All the teachers assembled in the staff room frowned. Principal Barton continued, I didn't tell you all about it before, it ain't the first academy that lodged a complaint against us. Central Academy was the first one to complain, on the basis of qualifications lacking. After the committee rejected their request because of the rules, the situation was calmed down. But now, as the Heavenly Academy's request of changing the venue has been rejected, they threaten to boycott the league itself. You know that despite not being the most powerful academy like Dragon Academy, the Heavenly Academy has the most influence due to the royal family members. I guess the committee must have taken consideration about it and sent me a message about how they are deploying a representative who will observe our academy facilities, students, teachers, then, judge whether we are allowed to host or not. What if we fail? A teacher gulped in worry. Like the rest of the staff, he was also looking towards this tournament and didn't expect there would be trouble. Principal Barton replied that the venue will be shifted to the capital city where the country's prestigious Egrian Academy is located. What do you think the representative will look for? Vice Principal, Sahara asked her husband. Our facilities aren't pale in comparison with any Arcana Academy out there. The principal replied while feeling proud about it. His face once again turned serious as he pointed out, the only issue here is the quality of students. We have far too few rank .5 students compared to all the academies that were participating in the league. He may point out that as a host, our academy can't be the weakest in terms of geniuses. Leonard Light is the only person who can solve this issue. With his combat ability that is at least rated as rank .6, we can make an argument. What about your disciple? All of a sudden Exia brought Azzy into the topic. I heard that the 5th prince marked him as his rival and constantly claimed that student Azrael is stronger than himself. With 2 students, don't we have a better chance? No. Principal Barton quickly rejected firmly. Until I confirm that he can perfectly control his strength, I refuse to let him participate in any kind of tournament. It's my decision as not only his master but also the principal of the academy. Until he stays in this academy, that is. Afiar let out a comment while stroking his twisted, black goatee. What do you mean by that? Reuben asked him with a frown on his face. The rest of the members also looked at him. I guess you didn't hear the news that student Azrael went on a date with a girl from Moon Academy. The whole academy is talking about it. It seems she's his childhood friend. When I inquired about the girl's background this morning, I found out that she's the 4th disciple of Venerable Callidius. Venerable Callidius. Principal Barton stood up in shock and so was his wife. The remaining people were clueless about who this Callidius is. However, since only rank .9 or above Arcana Masters can be addressed with Venerable before their names, they were still surprised. That would mean she's the junior sister of the Crown Prince of Hildegard. It's no secret to the world regarding Van's origins. However, he still didn't expect there's another monstrous genius in the Moon Academy's lineup. Uffiar nodded, yes. I heard that Prince Van was interested in him. I already reported you about this. Looking at the principal, he continued, in the morning, their team's instructor came to me and inquired about student Azrael. He also expressed intentions of letting Azrael have a friendly spar against Prince Van. You told me to reject it. However, before I do that, we were called to the meeting. The principal's face darkened instantly as he clenched his fist. Lack of control isn't the only reason he put a ban on Azzy. In the eyes of others, Azzy is surely his disciple. However, Azzy never acknowledged him as his prime master. So, he has the same status as Reuben, a teacher to Azzy. He knew that Azzy will surely acknowledge another person as his master, but what he worried about is that the prime master position will go to someone far stronger than himself. Then, his existence to Azzy will diminish to the extent of disregard. After all, he still can't forget two of his genius disciples who later abandoned him after becoming a disciple of a peak rank .8 and a 9.9 respectively. That's why he can't let Azzy go until he graduates from the academy. Until then, he keeps on supporting him to the fullest. Meanwhile, at the nation of Vesna, at a random location of Vesna, a neutral nation that is home to every nation's embassy, headquarters to several giant corporations and organizations, a young man was traveling on the road in his 100 million credit sports car. Its eye-catching appearance attracted the attention of several people. With Arcana Masters traveling on their flying cards everywhere, it's rare for someone to buy this pricey vehicle. Inside the vehicle, 3 hot models, one on the front and the 2 on the back were also seated. The models in the back seat were kissing each other while the model in the front was also doing some indecent thing. The young man had a look of enjoyment on his face, and yet, he was managing to drive at 150 km per hour without losing any concentration on the road. Without any warning, an item card suddenly appears before him, making the rest of the girls stop their activities and look at this playboy. He stopped the car on the side of the road. When will these guys update in technology? Aren't these cellular phones more comfortable? He grumbled while crushing it with his soul energy. Immediately, an image of a middle-aged man appeared in his mind and a message followed by it. Come to the headquarters, at this instant. Oh boy, not again. Shaking his head with a sigh, he looked at the 3 of them and said, sorry ladies, hotel cancelled. I need to go for important work. How about we have our fun here then? The model in the front whispered in his ears and immediately sat on him without prior warning. Sure, he grinned, planting a kiss on her lips. With his vision blocked, he reached out to some buttons and pressed them. Flight mode, activated. Invisible mode, activated. All of a sudden, the car speed up and flew into the air up to 1,100 meters while becoming invisible. Ednel.co Wamo headquarters, Silver City. Reaching the headquarters, he summoned a platinum-grade storage card and stores the car inside it as there's no parking space in the building. After all, it's the Association for Arcana Masters which was built back when the vehicles aren't even invented. As the majority of Arcana Masters prefer flying or teleporting over traveling by road vehicles because of huge traffic, they didn't bother to add during the renovation. However, those who prefer to come by vehicles can still park outside. There's a public parking lot nearby. After a while, the young man reached the president's office. He saluted, your orders, sir. Unlike his earlier playboy demeanor, he now had the look of a soldier. Neil, you are being deployed to the Aclean Academy for an inspection. The president ordered him without wasting any time. Aclean Academy. He was taken aback. Yes. The president nodded, any problem? Nothing, sir. Please continue. The president continued with his orders, I don't care what you do. Either make sure that the academy lacked qualifications to host the Champions League or bring me a solid report that can make the Heavenly Academy not challenge our decision, again. Understood. The young man saluted once again before turning around to walk away. As he left the building, he took out his supercar from the storage card once again and sat inside it. However, the car didn't move for a while. Neil just sat silent as he took out a photo from his wallet. It contains the image of a small boy and an old man. The old man was none other than Barton. His eyes flickered, Master. Chapter 90 The Inspector from WAMO Headquarters Part. 2 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Day 1 of the annual tournament, the next day morning, as if there's a festival going on, the streets nearby the academy were filled with people. Parents who live all over the nation are arriving one by one to watch the tournament. The civilians living in the city were also welcomed. Meanwhile, local media got busy at the gate, recording everything. Along with them, several Arcana masters also joined the queue. Most of them are scouts of various special Arcana academies that provide advanced education. A few of them were scouts of various organizations from good to evil. The rest were interested in the students of other Arcana academies that arrived for the Champion League. Even though several people eyeing talents from these strong academies, the main highlight of the tournament is still Leonard Light, the national champion and fifth prince of their northern Kudur nation. Almost every scout from top academies intends to scout him. Local police officers were also stationed there for security purposes. With such a huge crowd, some people are bound to cause trouble. So, they intend to make sure no such thing occurs, especially with the presence of esteemed guests in the academy. Under the orders of the principal, the teachers were also patrolling the academy to make sure no one causes trouble. Principal Barton thought the Heavenly Academy might purposely cause trouble to revoke their qualifications to host the tournament. Upon hearing his worry, the rest of the teachers thought he was just being skeptical but still, followed his orders. Amid all of this, Neil entered the gates while suppressing his aura to rank .4 to not attract the attention of anyone. Instead of going straight to the arena, he was touring around the academy like a curious tourist. No one knows that he wasn't curious but was reminiscing his past. This academy is where he studied for 10 long years. Sigh. 62 years passed by but nothing changed. The academy looks exactly the same when I left. If any student or civilian would have heard it, they would be incredibly shocked to see that this young man who looks like he's in his 20s was actually 78 years old. The expert will also be shocked as the aging will slow down tremendously when one reaches rank .7. It is the stop where the mediocre experts and true experts will be divided. Neil continued to roam. No one also found it as suspicious as there were people like him who are looking around. After reminiscing enough, Neil proceeds to the arena. He thought he would meet the principal in the evening when the day is over. Until then, he can enjoy watching the battles. Although he's a guy who will fool around even on official missions, the main reason is because of reluctance to meet his old master. The academy has a total of 4 arenas. 3 smaller arenas, each one with just 10,1500 seat capacity, and 1 large arena that can hold 100,000 members of the audience. Due to the upcoming Champions League, the principal decided to only hold the finals in the bigger arena. Neil chose the smaller arena where usually battle challenges between fellow students take place. It was located in the training grounds. Point 2. There are boards placed everywhere to show what battles will take place at this arena. This particular arena is allotted for Advanced Division, which is Grade 8, Grade 9, and Grade 10. After all, it would be unfair if a Grade .10 will face a student from Grade .3 or Grade .4. To maintain fairness, they divided it into 3 divisions. Grade 3 and 4 is called the Beginner Division. Grade 5, 6, and 7 are allotted to the Intermediate Division. And Grade 8, 9, and 10 are allotted to the Advanced Division. Just like their names, it clearly states their soul ranks too. For example, all the students in the beginner division are either rank 2 or rank point .3. The students in the intermediate division are either rank point .3 or rank point .4, and the students in the advanced division are of rank point .4 and rank point .5. I guess many people are eager to choose this arena, Neil mumbled as he saw the huge line. He peacefully entered the arena and chose a random seat in the middle row that appeared empty. In no time, the rest of the audience filled in. As the event hasn't started yet, Neil closed his eyes and started to scan the people in the arena to see if there are any fellow rank point .7 experts. He also wanted to play a little game with himself by counting the number of rank point .6 experts. Azrael, there are seats available here. He was momentarily distracted by a loud excited tone belonged to a girl nearby. Neil sensed 2 rank point .5 experts sat beside him. Since they are just rank point .5, he ignored the 2 of them and busy with his calculation. Meanwhile, the participants were waiting in their waiting rooms, arranged according to their grades. By 9 o'clock, the stadium is completely filled except for the VIP section, which was reserved for the high officials of the nation and the royal family. Then, Exia entered the stadium with a mic standing on the platform. She started speaking. While speaking, she unleashed her unique ability, and all the lower-rank people who heard her voice immediately got attracted towards her. A lot of civilian males started to cheer her name while the ladies looked at her in disdain. Amid all of this, Exia continued with her introductory speech. After finishing with explaining the rules, she widely smiled as she announced, "Now, let's invite the participants who you all are waiting to see." As the students of grade point .8 to grade point .10 entered the arena along with their classmates, the audience started to cheer around. Some with children's names, some with their favorite contestant names, and some for Exia. However, amid all cheers, Neil found out that cheering for Leonard Light stood out. He wondered who this guy is. Just then, he heard the excited voice of the girl that sat beside him. "Wow, this Leonard really has a lot of popularity, huh?" In response to her, he heard a male voice with a plain tone replied, "He won the national tournament." "So, it's obvious. National tournament." Neil's ears perked up as he heard it. He's someone who is busy with wars and doing covert operations to ensure peace at a particular location. So, he knows nothing about the rules of the Champion League. However, he did know that winning the national tournament is a big thing. After all, he was also once a national champion, twice in a row. Unless one has a capability of peak. Rank point .5, it is very difficult for one to win, not to mention, competing with the students of Egrian Academy from the capital city. Neil became curious to see this Leonard Light. Just then, he heard her complaining, "You should have participated in this annual tournament and get select for the Champions League. Your master is too ruthless." "Barbara." As the guy raised his voice, the girl apologized for her loose tongue. Meanwhile, Neil's eyes widened in surprise as he immediately opened his eyes and turned his head. Kids. He didn't expect this rank point .5 couple were only little kids. They don't even look like 10th graders either. "Excuse me." He called out to them. Barbara and Azzy looked at him. "I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I accidentally heard that you are the students of this academy. Are you?" He asked her while observing the both of them. Strangely, for some reason, he found the 2 of them familiar, as if he had seen them somewhere, although he wasn't able to put his finger on it. Upon hearing his question, Barbara answered, "I'm not. My friend is. I'm actually from the Moon Academy." Azzy immediately nudged her, implying whether it is necessary for her to reveal it to a stranger. However, Neil looked clueless. He doesn't know the name of the Moon Academy. However, he does know Moon City, which is located in the level 3 region. Neil didn't place much importance on it and smiled, "You two must be a genius to achieve rank point .5 in this young age." As an alumnus, he was pleased that his academy got a talented kid. "Aren't we?" Barbara grinned in return. "But, you can't place the both of us in one place. Azrael is far better than me. Meanwhile, Azzy was stunned as he earlier sensed this guy's rank is only 4. Then, how come he sensed his rank? 'Cause this man is a mid-rank .7, Azrael. The Reaper said to him in his head. Mid.rank .7. Azzy blurted out in shock as he stared at Neil. A frown appeared on Neil upon hearing Azzy.